It's time to talk sports. It's Hacksaw's Headlines, a panorama of the world of sports, stories, comments, and opinions. Now, here's iconic sports talk show host Lee Hacksaw Hamilton and co-host John Riley.
Who wants to talk sports on a Thursday? We do, you do. From the Dixieline Lumber and Home Center studios in San Diego, heading towards a great sports weekend, we welcome you to our Thursday podcast, Hacksaw's Headlines. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, along with my co-host with his opinions from left field, John Riley, and we welcome you to our Thursday podcast. Podcast brought to you by the good people of Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, 8 locations to serve you in San Diego, been in business for more than 100 years. You got projects that got materials. You want ideas? They can be your best friend and your consultant. Recommend you go to Dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer. John Riley, good afternoon. Holy cow, I cannot believe all the stories that are breaking one on top of the other since last night in the world of sports. And because we do sports talk the way we do it, we're going to try to cover as many as we can, express opinions, and then we're going to ask people to join us in Fans Forum. How you doing?
Dude, you were peppering me before the live stream with updates on all the NBA stuff, the NHL draft. We're going to talk World Cup, man. You got it all. We're ready to go.
Listen, before we get to hot topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, just a reminder, when we're done with hot stories and our opinions on those stories, you get the chance to participate. We're looking for first-timers who've never, ever joined us. When you type in your name, put an asterisk next to it so we see that you're a first-timer and a Rookie of the Year candidate. It's called Fans Forum. John, how does it work?
Yeah, it's also a bucket list for some people to have a contact with Hacksaw. Well, you got to do a meet and greet, to have you shake hands and kiss babies. I mean, people love interacting with you. So if you want to interact with Hacksaw, got a question or comment in the world of sports, drop your hot take in the live chat on Facebook, on X, or on YouTube. We'll get you involved in Fans Forum. Okay,
we're going a lot of different directions. And as I've said, since last night, there have been one story after another popping up that really have implications in the world of sports and really worth discussing. First things first, because we are baseball-centric, let's talk about the weekend series. Let's ask the question, is this really a rivalry? Here come the Dodgers. Those are the Padres. John, what do you think?
It's a rivalry. You can't convince me otherwise.
Bounce back weekend. That's a pretty good headline. Maybe save the season weekend. Let's be realistic here, though, because the scoreboard does not lie. The Dodgers are who the Dodgers are, and they're 9 games ahead of the Padres in first place. The Padres are who the Padres are. Yes, a 3-game winning streak, a little bit of momentum. It's kind of feel good what they did to Atlanta, which is just battered by injuries to their pitching staff. But these are the Dodgers. So, John, here comes Roki Sasaki. He will pitch game 1 for L.A. That will be followed up by their ace, Yamamoto. And then come the third game in the series, Emmett Sheehan. The Padres will ask Walker Buehler to step up and give them another solid outing against his former team. That's going to be really interesting. They'll come back with Randy Vasquez, who's not the same pitcher he was before. And then on Sunday, they'll ask Michael King to come back and be the ace of the staff. There's all kinds of momentum in San Diego. But at the end of the day, until they do it consistently, I am not going to get excited about one home run that Manny Machado hits or one J.P. Sears outing in the starting rotation. I need to see consistency. I need to see a winning streak. And John, the scoreboard does not lie. The Padres against the Dodgers since 2020, when the Padres became pretty competitive in the National League West under A.J. Preller. Since 2020, the Padres are 33-57 against these guys. The Padres have won only 6 of 27 series against the Dodgers since 2020, and they're 1-2 in postseason playoff series. Have we had some good games? Yes. Have we had one very electric playoff series? Yes. But the rest of it's been surrounded by utter disappointment. And the Dodgers, as dinged up as they are, they have only one starting outfielder and all these problems with their starting rotation. They're still 9 games out in front of the Padres. So you may say it is an emotional rivalry, and I guess I do tend to agree a bit with that. But the scoreboard does not lie. The Dodgers have owned this thing since 2020 and owned them well before that. So, John, you feeling good about Padre baseball? Or is this a little piece of reality? These are the Dodgers. You're not playing somebody else. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be tough. I mean, the Padres, you know, 3 in a row against the Braves, a little sweep there. That was unexpected. But yeah, I mean, you're going to go, you know, try to slay the dragon in the regular season in a 3-game series here. If they end up winning 1, maybe 2, you know, then they're going to have a nice homestand. But, you know, they're the Dodgers. So, you know, we'll just see how it goes. You know, I'm more interested in some of the drama that's going on in the Dodger dugout. I mean, do you know what the deal is with Dalton Rushing and Shohei Ohtani? Are these guys fighting amongst themselves?
They're having a problem with the immaturity of Dalton Rushing. I mean, it's a very legitimate point. Dalton Rushing is a hothead. He puts way too much pressure on himself, and the minute something goes wrong, there's an angry tantrum and outburst against himself in the dugout. Now you add into the fact he's a highly competitive kid, and the kid has mouthed off at home plate. He's mouthed off to other players. There's a maturity factor here. Evidently, because he struggled catching Ohtani, there was conversation in the Dodger dugout between the pitcher and the catcher. Now, there's a mixed bag of people doing lip reading as to what was said. Was Ohtani trying to be supportive of the catcher and prop him up? Or was Ohtani speaking through the interpreter and telling Rushing, catch the damn baseball? Rushing was really unconsolable at points during that game. But he's been pretty volatile. Dave Roberts came up with a really interesting assessment of Dalton Rushing after the game last night. He says this is work in progress, and we're going to continue to work on this kid because this kid's got major league attributes. Now, obviously, he's playing game to game to game because of the Will Smith neck injury. But at the end of the day, I've seen some of the antics in the dugout, helmet tossing, bat breaking, screaming at nobody but himself. Guy's a little overhyped at this situation. So the Dodgers will work with him. I wish I knew what the actual interpretation of what Ohtani said in Japanese through the interpreter that got to Rushing. Was it catch the damn ball, or was he just being supportive to the young catcher who just seems to be scuffling with some of the movement on Ohtani's pitches? What do you take?
Yeah. Well, they were arguing on the mound. I mean, subtle argument. I mean, Ohtani wanted an ABS call on a ball that was on the edge, and Rushing didn't think it was a strike. He thought it was too low. Of course, Ohtani does the challenge, and of course, it's a strike because he's Shohei Ohtani, and it just nicked the zone. It was legitimately a strike, but, you know, Ohtani has perfect vision, too. But, you know, I saw in the dugout Rushing, you know, he was in there talking with Freddie Freeman, showing some leadership. And I saw Dave Roberts had his arm around him. So, okay, dude needs some growing up. He is a little bit of a punk. You know, some guys are already chiming in on the fans forum saying, this is the backup catcher. It's a non-issue. But, you know, we got to have something to talk about with the Dodgers. They're just so damn squeaky clean.
Okay, so we got the Dodgers, we got the Padres, and the window is open for you. Jump on board right now, fans forum, and looking for first-timers. Is this a rivalry? I mean, it's feel good right now for the Padres with a 3-game winning streak, but the freaking Dodgers are just so red hot. They're 28-11 in their last 39 games. So somebody's a Padre fan, somebody a Dodger fan, jump on board. And if you have an opinion about, you've seen the antics with Rushing, the Ohtani situation, hey, contribute. Tell us what you think. You got one other note you want to add there, John?
Yeah, it's just the Dodgers are just so damn good, and, you know, they're just getting everything done. But, you know, I'll tell you what, let's talk about the Padres for a sec, because, you know, Will Wagner is turning out to be a pretty good hitter. I mean, Samad Taylor is, you know, capturing the imagination of Padre fans right now. Sometimes I forget that Will Wagner is Billy Wagner's son, you know? And so anyways, it's cool that he's having some success, but damn, I mean, that Padres lineup, it's half of them are Chihuahuas. The good news is Tatis is heating up, and you can see glimmers from Machado, but man, I don't know. I mean, this is, like you said earlier, this is a prove it week for the Padres, put up or shut up, but it's still a rivalry. It still counts. It's only 100 miles between the two stadiums. It's still a rivalry.
Okay. And the correct phrase is save this season weekend for the San Diego Padres. Okay, Fans Forum chat box is open because we are baseball centric. I want you to join us right now. Now we go from that story to this blockbuster story that exploded at about 11 o'clock this morning. Ready for this one, John?
Free agency?
Major League Baseball and the union are meeting at this hour in New York. The morning segment of the meeting entailed radical changes to free agency as proposed by Rob Manfred. Get your pencil out and follow me on this. Because as you know, the owners have proposed a hard salary cap and a floor to spending, which brought a real negative reaction from Bruce Meyer, the union chief. Well, today, the union added on to what the initial generic proposal was. Free agency will stay at 6 years for veteran players, but they will add free agency at 5 years for any player over the age of 30. So if you get a late developing guy who becomes a star, becomes a really good player, and he crosses that 30-year age threshold, he can file for free agency after his 5th year rather than wait for his 6th year. So that's a unique benefit. MLB has proposed a cornerstone player franchise tag. Every team with an impending free agent on their roster, they can choose one, name him a cornerstone player that would guarantee him a 6-year locked-in big money contract. It's similar to the franchise tag that the NFL has. It's somewhat like the Larry Bird rule in the NBA. This has never ever been discussed. It's called the cornerstone player rule. In addition, the owners are proposing the highest pay raise ever for young players across baseball. And this encompasses about 60% of every roster. They're proposing minimum salary would go from $780,000 to $1 million per player immediately. And that minimum salary would bump up every year that the new salary cap goes up. That's a big pay hike for 60% of the players who play on minimum contracts. They would eliminate the qualifying offer in free agency. Now, the Q offer is big money if the player accepts it. If the player rejects it, then there's draft pick compensation. They're going to get rid of the Q offer completely. Guys who are 6-year veterans won't get hit with a Q offer if they're a star. They could just go on the street corner and negotiate a contract. They're going to, get this, eliminate deferred contracts.
Hey.
Now, I don't know how they're going to grandfather this in vis-a-vis your Dodgers, Toronto Blue Jays, Yankees, Mets, everybody who's now subscribed to deferrals. But effective this coming free agency, no deferred money in contracts. In addition, this coming year, free agent window opens. The max number of years you can give in a contract, 5. There won't be any A.J. Preller contracts of 10, 12, or 14. There will not be any Juan Soto type contracts either. 5-year limit on any contract. That's similar to the contract limitations that all the other sports have put in place. They are going to retain salary arbitration. At 3 years, you can file to go to salary arbitration. So there's some radically different things in there that they proposed at 11. Late this afternoon, Bruce Meyer totally blew this thing out of the water, but that's typical of him. He rejects everything. Look outside the window. Sun is shining. Now, Bruce Meyer would tell you there's a cloud over the mountain. we're in for big trouble. Bruce Meyer has rejected everything that Manfred put on the table, but that's just empty, dumbass rhetoric. His statement late afternoon, they're trying to rearrange the salary cap system. They're trying to split the veteran star player from other players. They're trying to take away our free enterprise system. So, John, I just gave you a boatload of stuff that broke at 11 o'clock this morning. Let's start first of all. We'll just go point by point. 6-year free agency stays in effect. However, veteran players beyond age 30 can file for free agency after their 5th season. That benefits some, doesn't benefit a hell of a lot, but it benefits some. Like that?
Yeah, I do. I think the players should get as much money as they can.
Minimum salary for the Samad Taylors to anybody else goes from $780 to $1 million per player. And when you realize more than 60% of the rosters are young players making the minimum, like it?
Hell yeah. I mean, there's a lot of money to go around right now, Lee.
Okay. Eliminating the qualifying offer for the marquee free agent. Good business, bad business? What do you think?
Yeah, get rid of that. There's all these conditions about when you can go on free agency. I'm saying let the players get as close as they can to that.
Eliminate deferred compensation. Do you want to call the Dodgers and explain this to them? How are they going to grandfather this in? But they're trying to get cost controls, and they don't think handing out 13 years of deferred compensation to anybody's contract is good for the overall spirit of the game. And you, Mr. Capitalist, what do you got to say?
Well, this is the one that worries me, because if you have like limited contracts and no deferred money, I mean, my boy Bobby Bonilla needs to get paid, man. Is his contract still going to work? No, I'm joking. Obviously, that's going to continue on. But yeah, the deferrals is a blatant disrespect for what a salary cap is supposed to be. So it makes sense that would be eliminated. But short contracts, that's good with me. I'm okay with that.
And what about the max contract would be only 5 years? There will be no more A.J. Preller contracts, Juan Soto type extended contracts.
That's really a good thing, because I think the long contracts they were doing, like Xander Bogaerts, 14 years, the Padres are not really expecting him to play 14 years. It was just a way to give him a lot of money spread out over time. So in the end, I think if you tighten up that window, then the salary cap works with more integrity.
And Bruce Meyer's response, there's a cloud over the mountain. That means the end of the world is just around the corner. He's negative for everything that Manfred proposed this morning.
Well, it's called collective bargaining for a reason. I mean, that's what they're doing. They're launching some salvos back and forth, trying to have these extreme edges, and they're going to meet somewhere in the middle. We'll see. I mean, I can't imagine they're going to kill the golden goose.
Yeah, this is pretty radical, everything that's being proposed. And, and you incorporate the amateur draft, the bumping off of the high school players, the international draft, the slot system, the lid on signing bonuses. I mean, everything that has been discussed is really radical. Now, it's tied to Manfred's demand for a salary cap, but by the same token, has to be tied to a floor to spending, which I think improves baseball for everybody. And, of course, the most shocking aspect to everything that's been discussed is the fact that Manfred convinced the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Cubs, the Red Sox, and the big money markets to put all 100% of the TV money into the pot of gold. So this is a jumping off point. And I think, John, you and I have talked about how complex this would be. This is dollars and cents, but there's angles to the expenditures, dollars and cents for all different levels of play. I'm fascinated by the depth and the complexity of all this. Your reaction?
I've been hearing people chirping. They're confident there's going to be a lockout. I mean, is that what your instincts are telling you?
I think there'll be an awful lot of verbal gunfire between now and December 1st, and there could be a lockout. And a lockout would freeze the winter baseball meetings, it would freeze free agency, it would freeze trades. But in all honesty, December 1st is not the drop-dead date. Sometime in April is the drop-dead date. Spring training is a drop-dead date. Because you're going to reach an agreement. You got between now and then to reach an agreement to get spring training camps open so all these players can come to camp and be totally healthy. I don't want to see games canceled the end of April, etc. But at this point in time, awful lot of rhetoric, awful lot of verbal gunfire. I'm not going to get into, oh my God, there's going to be a lockout. I'm not subscribing to the fact there's a storm over the mountain, you got between now, John, and you got between now and December 1st, or now and the start of spring training, to work your way through this. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, agree. I agree. They'll get through it. It's just initial, it's poker game.
Okay. So you're a baseball fan. Like, dislike what we just presented? What Manfred gave Bruce Meyer today, and Bruce Meyer's response, there's a storm coming over the mountain? Feel free. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open for business. We're baseball centric. We know what we're talking about. We want you to join us. And John, the last topic on the table, to some hot spots in baseball, some problem spots in baseball.
You got a problem.
Your San Francisco Giants got a lot of problems here. Okay, so the latest mess in the Bay Area, aside from bad baseball San Francisco, involves the troubles with the Giants and the roster, and now Buster Posey and Tony Vitello, their new manager, and Ralph Devers refusing to come off first base for a pinch runner down a run end of a game. And he sat there and glared and stared at first base in the dugout and finally huffed and puffed his way, took his helmet off once he got in the dugout. Now, the manager says there's no problem. We talked about it on the team plane. Media is not letting the story go. And Devers has made it worse by just blaming the media. You guys are just blowing things out of proportion all the time. That's why I don't talk to you. Well, we don't want to talk to somebody hitting .238, making the kind of money, who got his ass traded out of Boston and is now on the brink of getting his ass traded out of San Francisco. Take some responsibility for who you are, what you're not doing as a player, and why you're acting the way you're playing. And then Buster Posey goes on Sports Talk Radio yesterday, and he says, I'm open for business. In essence, he's putting all these guys on the trade block. Now, I don't know anybody wants to make a deal to get Devers. Adames has been a major disappointment since coming from Milwaukee. They got some other big money contracts there too. So this really bears watching. San Francisco is a mess. Meanwhile, Yankee Stadium. Players come in all sizes, shapes, forms, nationalities, cultures, backgrounds, personalities. And then there's Jazz Chisholm. I don't know if you saw the picture. Jazz Chisholm is playing second base, sucking on a lollipop in a game. Aaron Boone lost his mind. Now, the Yankees are having a really good season. Yankees have a lot of injuries, though, right now. But Jazz Chisholm lollipopping his way going out on the field. Never seen that before. Aaron Boone not real happy with that. Jazz Chisholm, just his responses, I'm just having fun, man. Absolutely amazing. New York Mets. Have you ever seen anything in a state of disrepair like this? Money may buy you happiness, but money can't buy you wins. They are a disaster. Mets just got killed in a road series. Juan Soto's got a calf and he's got a back problem. And I've watched him. He looks like an old man on the field right now, defensively and running the bases. And by the way, he's not hitting a hell of a lot of home runs to earn his $765 million. You got Francisco Lindor's been out since April with a calf injury. Now they've demoted the big money frontline starter Kodai Senga. He's been demoted after maybe the worst start of his life. He's gone to the bullpen with a 10.08 ERA, and this is supposed to be the ace of your staff. New York Mets baseball is in utter disrepair. So, John, go ahead. Defend your Giants. Talk about lollipops at second base. And talk about all things bad baseball despite the big dollars with the Mets.
This is the same BS that Ralph Devers got involved in with the Red Sox, where he thought he was third base. He didn't want to play first base because it was a slight on his defensive abilities. Now a slight on his running skills. And yeah, dude needs to take a chill pill. And by the way, I like that uniform that he's wearing right now, that orange top with the script Giants. That's kind of like the, Jack Clark Giants of 1978 is kind of that style of uniform.
I like the color and I like the font of the logo. I don't like the player in the uniform, though.
Yeah, it sounds about right. And then the Jazz Chisholm thing, I mean, I like it. I like to see the personality. And by the way, dudes are chewing tobacco. They got bubble gum. Man, he's always blowing bubbles. You got guys like pulling seeds out of their mouth and spitting seeds. And now you're complaining about a lollipop. I mean, that's just a bunch of baloney. And it's Jazz Chisholm. I mean, if anyone's going to do that kind of thing, it should be him.
And what are you going to say about the Mets? Mr. Met and all that money.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's some, I mean, I don't know, it's do you ever sometimes get a feeling that you enjoy seeing other teams self-implode? And maybe the Mets are one of those teams. I don't know. It's just they try so damn hard that they signed so many good players over the offseason, just not working for the Mets. And yeah, Juan Soto, he runs to first base like the way Manny Machado does.
And I'll tell you what, look at the box score. Do you know the polar bear who they did not re-sign has more home runs than Juan Soto? How about Pete Alonso, what he's done in Baltimore compared to what Juan Soto is not doing with the Mets at Citi Field? Okay, those are the hot stories in Major League Baseball. Your Fans Forum chat box is open. John, we go from that. Next topic on the table. It's taken up the last 48 hours of my life. All things NBA basketball.
So what did you think of the top picks in round 1 of the draft?
Bobby Blue Chip. I'll tell you, this was a deep draft. Jay Billis made the comment, this is maybe the deepest draft in over a decade. I'll tell you what, you go through the first 10 to 12 picks, everybody got really good players. I'll just give you a couple candid comments about the guys at the top of the draft board, and then, John, make a note or two if you want to jump back in. Washington, as misfit a franchise as they have been, they're on the brink of flipping this. They get A.J. Desponsa, comes from BYU, 6'7" wing guy who can stroke it. Now, he's a little bit streaky, but I'll tell you, he's got real athletic gifts. So you take the BYU rookie and you put him in with Trae Young, who just signed the contract extension, a healthy Anthony Davis, the young center from France, Alex Sarr, and a couple of other young rookies that they force-fed last year. And suddenly, that looks like a much more competitive, much more athletic basketball team if Anthony Davis stays healthy. I thought it was a really good pick. Utah. We're going to wake up one of these mornings, and those guys in Salt Lake City are going to be pretty good. So they get Darren Peterson. I mean, that is a 6'6", do-everything guard out of Kansas. And you get Peterson to go with Lauri Markkanen, who's a big star unto his own. If they keep Walker Kessler, the trade for Jaren Jackson from Oklahoma City, and Keontae George, and all of a sudden, that's a bunch of really good young guns. I'm going to be interested to see whether it becomes Peterson's team or whether they run everything through Markinson, the big forward. I like what Utah did. Memphis. Well, I'm shaking my head because we're sitting here and Memphis still has the problem at guard. But they do have Cam Boozer, and they do have Zach Edey out of Purdue coming off ankle surgery, and they had a really good young power forward in Ced Coward. I really am impressed with just the raw roster, but got to play together. And I don't know at this point in time whether they have enough players or any veteran players to make that thing happen. Chicago, number 4, got what I think is the most unique guy in the draft. I don't think we're seeing the potential and how good Caleb Wilson out of North Carolina is going to be. But that 6'9", jumping jack, explosive, got great shot selection, was hurt last year. I think that's a really fine player whose future I think is really ahead of him. Number 5, Clippers. They got who I thought they were going to get. Keaton Wagler is a really good basketball player. Big guard, does everything at the University of Illinois. So you got him, you got Kawhi, you got Garland, you got Mathurin, a couple of other young guys. It's going to be probably a better offensive team that won't have to live and die if Kawhi doesn't get his 30 points per night. So I like what the Clippers did. Brooklyn, I don't know. That's been a wretched franchise. They got a really good guard out of Louisville, Michael Brown. I think he's gifted, but do they have enough players around him? That remains to be seen. Sacramento does what Sacramento always does. You drafted that guy who's one dimension? Talking about Darius Acuff. He's the guard out of Arkansas. That is instant offense. No commitment at all at the other end of the floor defensively. And this is a franchise And I use the phrase, that's just freaking Sacramento. It's a franchise that traded away De'Aaron Fox. Franchise that traded away Tyrese Halliburton. Franchise been in the dumper for decades. And Acuff is strictly at one end of the floor. Give me the ball so I can shoot it. Now, he might have been the best player on the board at that point when the Sacramento pick came up. So, John, like I say, Bobby Blue Chip, I thought they're really good, deep group of players on that draft board. Going to be fun to see all these guys kind of diving into the NBA.
The Kings. Yes, I think about Nate Tiny Archibald. I mean, you'd even can go back to what's his name? He played for the Warriors, and then he was a Michigan, one of the Fab Five guys. He played for the Kings for a while, and I remember they had Mitch Richmond.
No, Chris Webber.
Yeah. I mean, they had a lot of players. He just never pulled it together. Now, the Jazz to me are interesting because isn't that Danny Ainge, the GM? And I remember he was stockpiling all these draft picks. Has he been burning through those, or does he still have a lot, stored up for the next few years?
Well, he spent them in the last 2 years, but this is a cross-section collection of pretty good basketball players. So I'll be fascinated to see. I mean, when you're as young as they are across the board, it takes time, learning curve. But boy, Utah's got all this firepower. And, a year ago this time when they made the trade for Jalen Jackson out of Oklahoma City, I couldn't believe, or I should say Jaren Jackson, I could not believe that OKC traded him and Utah got him. Now, Utah's season last year was kind of decapitated by a lot of injuries. I mean, they lost Kessler very early. Markkanen has had major injuries, been in and out. But I like the mix. The one name I failed to mention is Ace Bailey. Last year's unique guard. He's part of that whole collection in Utah. Like I said, I think we're going to wake up one of these mornings and Salt Lake City's going to be a very competitive, very good young basketball team. Okay, that is a list of Bobby Blue Chips. I'll tell you, the back end of the first round, John, I was really impressed with some other people. Let's start with Dallas and their new coach. So he comes in from the University of Michigan, his first day on the job, and they bring one of his players in. They drafted Maurice Johnson, power forward. He may not be completely polished offensively, but boy, he does everything else defensively. That's a really good player. And then they made a trade to get one of the top three-point shooters out of Spain, Sergio de la Herrera. So you add those guys with Cooper Flagg, Kyrie Irving. So that's going to be a really interesting team. But I think Maurice Johnson has got a lot of really good ingredients based on what we saw last year with him at the University of Michigan. Milwaukee, it's like a new team. They get the three players led by Tyler Hero who come from Miami in the Giannis trade. Then they go out and they get Braden Burris, the do-everything guard from Arizona. And they got a young stud jumping jack center by the name of Nate Amont out of the University of Tennessee. That's going to be a very different team, very new. So it's almost like an expansion team. I was kind of fascinated with what Milwaukee did. Golden State, he's not really a rookie, but them getting Jax Lindenberg from the University of Michigan at age 24 and massively big, I mean, that's a pretty good young player. And, of course, they still have Curry. They still have Draymond Green. They got the guards that stroke the basketball. They may not be done yet in terms of acquisitions. I like what Golden State got. Oklahoma City. Wow. Now, 2 years ago, they got Chet Holmgren, and he was just raw. He was just tall and thin. And I think you'd agree with me. Dude has really turned into being a pretty good player. Well, they go out, and they get this year's version of Chet Holmgren. They get Adai Mara. He comes from Michigan. I mean, that's big-time defense. That wingspan goes from here to there, and he passes the ball very well. Offensive skills might not be complete, but he looks like the second coming, bigger version of Chet Holmgren. And then they went out and they got a grinder of a three-point shooter and a guard out of Iowa, Ben Sturtz. OKC's front office is really good at player evaluation. And then there's San Antonio. All things Wembanyama and all those guards. And then they go out and get two more big men who play defense. They got Jaden Quaintance. He's from Kentucky. Huge guy. Now, he only played 5 games last year because he had a really bad injury. But this guy has great, great upside. And then they got Terrace Reed from the University of Connecticut. That's 6'10", 260 bulk in the paint as a backup to Wembanyama. And, of course, the Oklahoma City still has Hartenstein and some other people. So I should say San Antonio. I think they've really got some good people, different type people, size people, defensive players, and a body banger in Terrace Reed to back up Wembanyama. So, John, I thought the second half of the draft, once you got through the blue chips, the second half would say, okay, how does this guy fit over there? Those are some of the hot names that I came upon. Go ahead.
Well, you were saying, and I know a lot of other people have been saying, this is like one of the best drafts in like 10 years, the way it's so deep going down. But how about those Wolverines, man? I mean, they had 2 or is it 3 guys that were drafted? That is unbelievable. What a performance. But now that whole situation in Ann Arbor may be crumbling down, right, Lee?
Well, with Dusty May gone, but he leaves behind a whole bunch of really good players. Now, because that coach has exited, those players, there's a window, I think it's a 10-day or a 15-day window. Those players can go into the transfer portal, but they're all being paid. The new head coach is on the staff already. He's been promoted an assistant. So I don't know that there'll be big erosion at this point in time. But I don't know. I thought the back end was really interesting. And so, we'll see how Bobby Bluechip does, the guys at the top of the board. But I think some of these kids that I just named, these later picks, were kind of fascinating. Okay, we go from that. We're not done talking hoops. You got an opinion about what you saw with the draft? Feel free, jump on board. Let's talk about the trade table, because we're not done yet with this one, John.
Yeah, some blockbusters. We got some new updates?
Yeah, let's just walk through what has just transpired. I told you this morning my head was spinning. The Charlotte Hornets traded LaMelo Ball. Now, they got tired of the act, but that's a really good player. I think they're concerned about this injury history, but that's a really good player. They traded LaMelo Ball in a blockbuster deal to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are looking for firepower to put next to Anthony Edwards. So Ball, second in the league in three-point shooting. Ball, obviously, great player. You got him next to Anthony Edwards. They also acquired Josh Green as part of the deal. Now, they gave up Naz Reid, very good big forward off the bench. They gave up a number 1. They gave up 3 number 2s. It's going to be very interesting. In Charlotte, though, they have to be shaking their head. They won 44 games last season with a really young basketball team, and now you're separating yourself from the trigger man, LaMelo Ball. I think they got tired of the act. I think they're a little bit concerned about all the off-court junk that he just continues to seem to get himself involved in. But, boy, what an acquisition for Minnesota to get LaMelo Ball with Anthony Edwards, although it might drive that coach Chris Finch crazy because he's going to have to control all these guys. So that's fascinating. By the way, prior to the draft, Minnesota made another big deal. They traded Julius Randle. He went to the Brooklyn Nets in a 3-team deal with Chicago. Now, Randle was an explosive player, very much an in-and-out player. You just never knew what you were going to get Monday to Thursday to Sunday with him. They gave up on him, but they wound up moving Julius Randle. They wound up getting draft picks there. Randle goes to Brooklyn. Nick Claxton, a big center who really found himself in Brooklyn, goes to the Chicago Bulls in a part of that 3-team deal. And then Detroit, which is trying to change its chemistry, they moved their backup center, who's really a tough hombre, Isaiah Stewart. He was traded to Memphis for 3 draft picks. One thing about him, he's going to stand in the paint, he's going to knock people down, he's going to take technicals, he's probably going to get suspended. But, boy, he does bring it. So those were the front end of the transactions wrapped around the draft. And, by the way, we're not done. Still out there, and the rumors will not go away. Boston is shopping Jaylen Brown, the star guard. Memphis still has Ja Morant and all his baggage. Sacramento still has Domantas Sabonis. New Orleans still has 20-point-a-game forward Trey Murphy, who's on the block. Miami is trying to move Norman Powell, and Mitchell Robinson can't stay with the Knickerbockers regardless of how well he played because they have massive salary cap problems. So if we thought the LaMelo Ball thing and the Julius Randle thing were the start and the end of the trades? No. I mean, we got some more significant guys out there. John, here's the basketball. Don't blow this layup. Go ahead.
The Melo Ball, I always think about the three brothers, right? And the dad. Remember, the dad was all kind of prancing around on some late night talk show. But Lonzo Ball is still in the league, right? Is he still?
Yeah, but he's had such a history of injuries. His career has just been sidetracked. Did not turn out to be the kind of player because he couldn't stay on the floor. I mean, he had reconstructive knee surgery multiple times. He had cartilage transplant. Took him 3 years to get back. He was in Cleveland last stop, but I mean, he's bounced all over the place now. It's because he just can't stay healthy. So the whole Ball family has been sidetracked. You mentioned the father. Father's on video today. Wife left him, walked out. His father's doing a podcast about the wife walking out. Oh, geez, what a family.
That's a SoCal family, by the way. I think they're from Chino Hills.
Yes.
So it's just like a sideshow in basketball. So anyways, I love seeing the wheeling and dealing. I mean, general managers got to take some risks if they want to improve their team.
I don't know how they patch the emotions in Boston. I mean, they obviously did shop Jaylen Brown as part of the Giannis trade with Milwaukee, and that's kind of a shabby way to treat somebody that's a real superstar. But I think there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that he said. Jaylen Brown said stuff that I think may have offended the leadership of the Boston Celtics. So it may well be that he's going to wind up with a new mailing address. But that's a hell of a player you're putting on the trade block. But again, things have changed in the NBA. Teams are no longer fearful of moving guys. Just think about Luka Doncic, etc. So anyhow,
trade rumors just come with the territory.
Okay, so that's trade rumors as of this hour. Trust me, the sucker could change by tonight or tomorrow or sometime on the weekend. And we're not done with basketball because we got the Lakers and the Clippers to talk about. You ready?
Big night guards, big money.
Big money. Austin Reeves. We talked last week. What is the first domino to fall? Will it be a decision on LeBron James? Will it be a determination of Austin Reeves? Will it be a trade? Well, at the end of the day, the Lakers sat there and they got the Reeves deal done. He's not going to get the $48 million max he could get out of the gate. He's going to start at $41 million. He's locked in. They had to move on him because Detroit was out there. If they had gotten to July 1st, Detroit might have made the max offer and maybe he would have been gone, but the Lakers wanted him to stay. So Austin Reeves stays. The next issue, they had a desperate need at the draft to go get somebody in the paint, and they didn't do it. They talked to Luka Doncic, who told them, I want you to find a grade A center to help me. They didn't do it. Now, they got themselves a good player. The Lakers had that 25th pick in the first round. They wound up with Cam Carr, 6'4" shooting guard, 7-foot wingspan, scorer, distributor, plays pretty good defense, not a bad basketball player, but he doesn't play in the paint. He's not a center. I guess what really stunned me, not so much about Carr, because I think he's a really good athlete, but they had a chance to go get Terrace Reed from UConn. That's a big wide-body guy that wound up in San Antonio. They had a chance to go Chris Senak, big jumping jack rim protector, University of Houston. They had a chance to get Koa Pete, pretty good defensive player, University of Arizona. They bypassed all those guys to take a guard. So that was a surprise. Now, the third angle to Laker basketball, Walker Kessler is still out there. The Lakers still have all their number one picks. Is the potential of a Walker Kessler, Rui Hachimura, and number ones out of Utah? I guess maybe, but maybe Kessler wants to stay where he is, and he's a known commodity and factor in Utah. And then today, right before noon, story broke out of Cleveland. There has been conversation, Cavaliers-Lakers, about LeBron in a reunion. However, Cleveland's got cap issues. Lakers want Jarrett Allen, the 7-foot center of the Cavaliers. I think he averaged 14 points, 8 rebounds a game last season. It's taken him a while to grow into the position, pretty good basketball player. But there has to be more in the transaction. Cleveland wants 2 number ones that the Lakers have, plus LeBron. I don't know that the Lakers are going to do that. And if they did that and LeBron goes to Cleveland on a $30 million deal, Cleveland's going to have to shed other salaries. So there's some complexities there. Maybe a third team will show up in the transaction, but that's the latest. LeBron farewell tour reunion in Cleveland. Jared Allen, big man, coming to the Lakers, but it's complicated because it would involve the Lakers giving up virtually all their future number ones again, and it'd have to be a third team to take on some other Cleveland salaries, and does Cleveland want to strip itself down? So those are all the headlines involving the Lakers. Clippers, I do like Keaton Wagler from the University of Illinois. I think he brings big firepower there. I'll tell you a strange story, though, involving the Clippers. This story came out of Toronto this morning. The Raptors are talking to the Clippers about reacquiring Kawhi Leonard. Now, there's 2 factions. One, I've been told basketball people would be intrigued to make a deal with Toronto to get a lot of young guys back, but Steve Ballmer does not want to part with Kawhi Leonard. So that's interesting. Now, aside from getting Keaton Wagler, their other picks on the second day of the draft were really unique. They got an explosive jumping jack forward from the University of Cincinnati. His name is Baba Miller. He's from Spain. Guy can fly, guy can play defense, guy can run the floor. I mean, the guy's like a gazelle, but he doesn't have a great outside shot yet. They haven't developed it. It's been kind of one of the big mysteries because he does so many other things. They got him, and they got a big rim protector by the name of Harry Valisar out of North Carolina. This guy's a rebounder. This guy looks like a young Zubac. When Zubac first came into the league, looks like a young Lopez. And then they made a deal late last night, and they picked up a three-point shooter out of Northwestern by the name of Nick Martinelli, 6'7" stroker from the corner. So they're added firepower by getting Wagler. They've got themselves a huge jumping jack in Miller from the University of Cincinnati via Spain. They got themselves a wide body to play in the paint also in the kid out of North Carolina. So interesting. And obviously got the Kawhi Leonard trade rumor to Toronto. So, John, here's the bounce pass to you. Let's talk Lakers Cam Carr versus big men. Let's talk Lakers LeBron for Jared Allen, and then carry it across the floor, talk about the Clippers and Kawhi and what they did in the draft.
Do you think the Toronto Raptors want to work with, Kawhi Leonard's uncle again? I mean, that's part of it's a package deal, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to take on Kawhi. So that just seems weird, so, the Clippers, like to your point, they had a nice draft, but I'm just thinking from the Lakers' point of view, specifically from Luka Doncic's point of view, he's got to be pissed. I mean, he was saying, man, we need a big, and that's what it needs to be. And they didn't really get it in the draft. So I don't know. The trade for Jared Allen with the Cavs makes sense to me. I just don't know how much the Lakers can deal. We were talking forever how they had spent all their number one picks going out into the 2030s.
Yeah. Well, they have 3 number ones now they can use, but the reality is Cleveland's got all kinds of cap problems. And if Cleveland were to do this, they'd have to distribute some other players off their roster to a third team to make this thing fit with the salary cap. I don't know that Cleveland wants to do that. Would you have rather had the Lakers take Cam Carr, or do you agree with me? Geez, when Terrace Reed or Senac was available or Koa Pete was available, should have taken one of those guys late in the first round.
Yeah, Koa Pete I saw quite a bit of because he was on the West Coast. And by the way, I saw Koa Pete got dealt right after the trade or after the draft. That's the kind of guy they need. It's just like some big bulky dude to be a rim protector and, keep people out of the paint.
So I'm kind of stunned at what they did. Okay, those are topics in the NBA. It's kind of unique. We've been doing this podcast for 4 years. I know there's a ton of basketball fans out there. I'm looking to hit your hot button. I want basketball fans on the Laker line or the Clippers. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. Your opinion, Lakers, Clippers, what got done, what did not get done. Fans Forum chat box is open. John, let's get to halftime. This podcast is brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers, with 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. Dixieline, The minute you say Dixieline, all I think of is lumber. That's not the case, John, because Dixieline is windows, Dixieline is doors, Dixieline is tools. Go ahead, take it from there.
I was at the Dixieline Lumber Store in La Mesa. And that's the one right off of the Jackson Drive exit off Highway 8. And they have just a killer door and window showroom there at that store. They got a decking that's on display inside their home center. So if you're looking, to upgrade some things around your home and you don't want to have to deal with the grittiness of the lumber yard, they've got all of that in their showroom in the retail store in La Mesa, Dixieline Lumber. But yeah, they're great with window replacement. Here we got the video of the big doors that slide in and out of the walls. I mean, Dixieline Lumber, 100 years in San Diego County. These are people you can trust. If you're going to be building a home or if you're going to be remodeling, those are your go-to guys, Dixieline Lumber.
Go to Dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer. We are at halftime, our award-winning podcast. Listen, when we're done with topics on the table, because we do sports talk the way it should be done, we put a lot of topics on the table, then we discuss them. But when we're done with that, you get the chance to take over. You're going to pull up a chair here. It's called Fans Forum. John, for people on live stream who've never gotten involved with that, how does it work?
Wait a minute. Have we been winning awards? No one's told me we won some awards. Okay. Hey, if you have a question or comment in the world of sports, look at these guys on here. We've got Ocean View Coffee Shop, Sports Fan, Callan, Forever. The Atomic Punk is back. Phil is there. Do you love it? HB949 Sports Jeff. Showtime. Is Carlos the Boogeyman, 4RXLA, and ML. Is that Martin Mull? I'm not sure. Bat Fan is also in the list. So if you have a question or comment for Hacksaw, drop your hot take in the live chat, YouTube, Facebook, or X.
Reminder, I write about sports every day of the week. If you ever sampled my website, I guarantee you read it once, you'll be impressed. Then you can subscribe to get access to it on a day-by-day basis. LeeHacksawHamilton.com. The best 15 minutes in sports. It's there first thing every morning. My very vocal One Man's Opinion column, it's there too. You can also join us on the email list. Become part of Hacksaw's Insiders Group. It guarantees that you will get 2 emails a day. 2. One from me, one from John, covering the world of sports. So subscribe there. Want you to share. Tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. Want you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. When you do that, you will get alerts because we put a lot of extra videos up on the YouTube channel. And you can help us grow this. I mean, we're just exploding out there in the solar system. Look for the button. Give us a thumbs up. Look for the button. Hit the follow button. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple. Follow me on social media at Hacksaw1090 or just type in Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Hit the follow button there. So there's lots of ways for you to be involved as part of our team here on social media. Okay, John, I'm ready to go through the second half of the show. As if we did not have enough to talk about, here we go. Let's talk soccer.
It's a red-hot supernova. Okay, U.S. Soccer, they're playing Turkey today. What do you think, Lee?
Well, they play at 7 o'clock tonight. They're going to win the group stage. The question, can they do what they've never done before, go 3-0 in group, and then march into the group of 32? And the answer is probably yes. Decisions for Mauricio Pochettino. Does he play Christian Pulisic, who's got the hamstring issue? Christian did practice full bore on Tuesday, Wednesday. I wouldn't do that. I would not put him back out on the pitch. I think you can beat Turkey without him. Save him from himself, even though he's a gamer and wants to play. Have him ready when you go to the knockout round. Now, there's a sidebar question here. It's just not a Pulisic roster question. They got 4 other guys who already have yellow cards. If you play them in the game against Turkey tonight and they pick up another yellow card, that becomes a red, which means they miss the beginning of the knockout round. So the question is, what do you do with Fobalagan? What do you do with Tyler Adams? What do you do with the defenders who all have yellows? Do you run that risk? Pochettino today indicated he was not going to play any of the yellow card guys. So that means a lot of the young guys who've hardly played in World Cup, they played in the friendlies, are all going to probably make their appearances and be asked to log a lot of minutes tonight against Turkey. So we could have Team USA on the pitch tonight, John, without 5 key components on their roster. So that's a big story there. But hey, this has been a great first week and a half run for Team USA. Cap this thing off and then go on to the knockout round. They win this one tonight. All likelihood, they're going to play Bosnia in the first round of the first go round of the knockout round once we get to 32 teams, because then it's one and done, win or go home. So what do you think Mauricio should do as it relates to Pulisic? And he's already indicated he's not going to play the 4 yellow card guys.
Well, not playing the yellow card guys makes total sense. And I like the idea that you're going to kind of reach into the bench and have some of those guys play to replace the yellow card guys. But I think with Pulisic, I from my point of view, I'd like to see him out on the pitch, but not for the full 90 minutes. I mean, you could sort of piggyback him with another dude off the bench, right? And maybe Pulisic, you just kind of keep him, keep your powder dry. Maybe you bring him in the second half if you need that extra boost. But to me, I think he's probably itching to, be out there with his boys. This is going to be fun. It's always fun, and the more we're learning about Pochettino, there's more to love about him. I know. I can't wait till we talk about the next segment.
Okay. Let's talk about that other topic. Pochettino has always been closed-mouthed about who he is and what he represented. This week he opened up. On Wednesday, he talked about what he inherited when he first came on 14 months ago. Talked about his first team meeting with the players. And these are the spicy quotes that he gave in the media. That I was shocked at the complacency in the Team USA in the American program. He told the players, you are naive if you think you've accomplished anything. What have you accomplished? And then he looked the players in the eyes. And these guys had played abroad. These guys were stars in college, some of them in the MLS. What have you accomplished? Reputation means nothing to me. You are guaranteed nothing in this room. So he laid down the law, John, to those players in the first team meeting that this is the structure. I am brand new. This is my blueprint. You're going to work hard and you're going to subscribe to this. And it was pretty bumpy. Didn't do well in the Gold Cup. Really poor play in some of the friendlies. Injuries obviously had something to do with it. Guys left off the active roster because they were trying to get healthy. Pochettino took a lot of crap from the stars of yesteryear, the Landon Donovans, the Lawlesses, Tim Howards, etc. And look where we are now. You talk about changing the culture, getting these guys to buy the blueprint, and now it's one for all for one. But isn't that in an interesting way in your first group meeting with that team to give them that sales pitch?
Oh, I love it. I just love everything about this because Pochettino has got like great street cred. I mean, dude was coaching at, Paris Saint-Germain, and, he's a huge step up over Bruce Arena and who was the last guy? Was it Burkhalter?
Yes.
And we had a lot of kind of a little bit of sideshows there. To me, this guy's all business and I love it. And he's bringing integrity to the program. And yeah, they haven't accomplished anything. I mean, this is the best the U.S. has ever looked in the World Cup. And, the idea that they could win 3 in a row in Group A is just awesome. But yeah, you guys are crap. They haven't done anything. And they need to understand how, at the World Cup level, and you're playing some of these top tier teams. I mean, USA is still the punk little kid, and they're going to have to step up. So this is exactly the right message, Lee. I think it's fantastic.
Yep, I was pretty impressed too. So we'll see if they can finish off Turkey and move on to the knockout stage next week. Okay, that's all things soccer. You're a soccer fan? Feel free. Jump on board. And speaking of success, how about a salute south of the border to Mexico?
Oh, yeah.
Now, Javier Aguirre was a former player for El Tri, became a coach, failed miserably, got fired, bounced around, came back, has taken a team and has really molded it. Now, he's a passion play. You watch his antics on the sidelines, he rages at the officials, he rages at his own players. He's gotten Mexico, they won the group. They're 3-0, and they're going to play at least the next 2 home games at Stadium Azteca in Mexico City, where they have never, ever lost a World Cup soccer game. And he's done it through injuries. He's not had Raul Jimenez for the entire, Jimenez, I should say, for the entire series. But he's got these guys back healthy. It is odd. I flipped on my TV, and who's on my TV doing color analyst work? A guy that talked himself, yapped himself, acted badly, and got his ass off the roster. Chicharito, Javier Fernandez. He's doing color analyst work. I thought to myself, now that's one of the elite players in Mexico, but he's not part of the team. And obviously, the ex-SDFC star, Chucky Lozano, he's like you and me watching these matches on TV. He's not part of the team either, which is kind of a shocker to me. But Aguirre, it's his way or the highway. And I'll tell you, he is brass tacks a very hard leader. So congratulations to Mexico, their fans. You talk about having fun. Oh, John, it's just great south of the border. It's great in LA. It's great in San Diego for the Mexican side that are wearing their colors. So that's kind of cool. And now they go on, but they're going to play at home. How about that?
Yeah, and when they scored that first goal last night, Stadium Azteca was just rocking. I mean, it was like sad to say, there were some earthquakes around the world yesterday, but it was like an earthquake, in Mexico City. So you love this. And by the way, earlier today, when I told you I went out to Dixieline La Mesa, I drove by a restaurant out there. And you see all the flags, like it's kind of a pub restaurant, and they have flags for every one of the teams in the league. And there's a special flag from Team Mexico because it's, here in San Diego. So I just love it. It's just everything about this tournament is just so great. And for Mexico, they won 3, right? I mean, that's got to be their best performance or tied for their best performance in group play.
Yeah, very much so. And they're going to play at home. At home, heat, altitude, humidity. At home. Oh, what a massive advantage, I think, for them. Okay, you're a soccer fan. Inviting you to jump on board. Corner Kickers and Opinion. Fans Forum chat box is open. We go from that. John, if you didn't think World Cup, baseball, NBA draft wasn't a busy enough week, tomorrow, Hockey Hotline open for business. Here comes the NHL draft. Wow.
It's NHL and NBA are too close together.
Exactly, especially for those of us that have to cover it. Toronto Maple Leafs have the number 1 pick in the draft. It's a slam dunk. They're going to take McKenna, left winger, Penn State University. Gavin McKenna, who was the first player who left Canadian junior hockey a year ago when the NCAA changed its rules and allowed Division I college hockey programs to import top junior players from the Canadian side of the border. Gavin McKenna went and had a really good statistical season at Penn State. The guy can skate. The guy's got a shot. The Maple Leafs have the number 1 pick in the draft. San Jose, which has been building, they're going to get another high pick. And they're going to take the best player in Scandinavia, Ivan Stenberg from Finland. This kid scored 18 goals as an 18-year-old in the Finnish Pro League. He's polished. He's ready to come join Max Celebrini, Will Smith, and all the other guys that San Jose has stockpiled. Vancouver's got the 3rd pick. This is strange. They are going to take Caleb Malhotra, center from Brantford in the Ontario Hockey League. He's the son of the newly named head coach. Now, this is not nepotism. This kid's a good hockey player. But his father was Manny Malhotra, who played in Vancouver for a long time, was a coach of their AHL team, just got elevated in the house cleaning in Vancouver. But they're going to draft his son, Caleb Malhotra. I don't know if he's ready-made to be in the NHL, but he's going to be a 3rd pick in the draft. And Buffalo, by virtue of this huge trade they just made this week, and have been trades everywhere in the NHL, Buffalo is going to take one of the top defensemen in junior hockey, big guy, Chase Reed from Sault Ste. Marie in the Ontario Hockey League. It's a really deep draft. It's a draft in which maybe 3 of the first 5 are going to be Euros. So it's going to be fascinating. That draft, of course, starts on Friday. So that's a big story there as it relates to the start of that draft. So, John, we go from that to the second big story in the NHL, the notebook, the trades. We're not done. Holy cow, we're not done. John.
11 deals, 11 days.
There have been 11 trades so far, and there are more coming. The blockbuster was what Ottawa did. We talked briefly about it. Ottawa traded their captain, Brady Tkachuk. He went to the Florida Panthers for 3 number-1 draft picks. A lot of rage in Ottawa that you didn't get a goal scorer. Well, they turned around the next day, Ottawa did, and they made a trade to get young Scandinavian goal scorer William Eklund from San Jose. They traded one of the number-1 draft picks. So Ottawa is changing the whole chemistry of their team. That was followed by what Buffalo did. And these kind of shockers. Buffalo traded Alex Tuch, who scored 33 goals this year. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Sabres could not get him signed. He wanted to go on the open market. They traded him to the Washington Capitals, where he promptly signed an 8-year, $64 million deal. But they only got a third-round draft pick for him, which to me is a bit of a stunner. And then Buffalo turned around and traded one of the young defensemen they couldn't re-sign, Bowen Byram, as well as Jordan Greenway. They wound up going to the Chicago Blackhawks for the 4th pick and the 45th pick in the draft tomorrow. So Buffalo, despite the spectacular season they had, they've separated themselves from 2 pretty good hockey players. And then, of course, there's Toronto. Toronto made the trade to get veteran defenseman Dave Radich from Tampa Bay, signed him to an extension. And there's the Washington Capitals. Aside from getting Alex Tuch from Buffalo, they made a deal to get another goal scorer from St. Louis, Jordan Kyrou. They gave up a number-1 draft pick to get him. So we're not done dealing. There's still rumors out there, John, that there are more trades coming. And that leads us to the 3rd page of NHL stories. Look who's available and could be traded between now and tomorrow night before the NHL draft starts. Winnipeg might trade the Olympic goaltender Connor Hellebuyck. That's a stunner to me that they would move him out of there at age 32 because he's the cornerstone of the franchise, but they're desperate for goal scoring, and there's teams out there desperate for goaltending. Hellebuyck could be departing Winnipeg by nightfall tomorrow. New York Rangers are shopping Vincent Trocheck. A bunch of clubs are interested in that goal scorer. Detroit's captain, Dylan Larkins, is out there on the trade block. We're waiting to see what Edmonton does with their star defenseman, Darnell Nurse, who's been there forever. Big contract, making a lot of money. Dallas may trade Jason Robertson, former 40-goal scorer. We've talked extensively about the Ducks and the roster changes possibly coming. I do think Mason McTavish could be traded by the Ducks, the young center iceman. And Vancouver's the one that's got problems because they've got high contracts, old players that haven't played well. They owe Elias Pettersson $11 million a year on a contract that goes out another 5 or 6 years. They're desperately trying to trade him, but he's had 3 or 4 real substandard seasons in a row. I don't know that he's real tradable. So if you thought this week was busy, just add on what's going to happen in the National Hockey League tomorrow and through the weekend. John, do not fire a slap shot that's off target. Tell me what you think.
There's just like so much information in hockey. Here's a question. On this board here, wasn't McKenna the kid that was in junior hockey that went to Penn State and that was kind of a controversy?
Well, it wasn't a controversy, but he's the first one that jumped into the water a year ago this time when the NCAA announced. Again, this all came under players' rights and lawsuits and all that. McKenna was the first one that said, okay, I'm leaving junior hockey and I'm going to NCAA hockey for 1 year before I'm eligible for the draft. And that rule just changed. Last year, I think there were 16 big names that went from junior hockey that jumped into NCAA hockey. This year, there's at least 32 that have transferred in. And we're talking about high draft picks, kids who are in college or were drafted in junior are going to go to college for a year, and they could also turn pro too. So, yeah, brand new rule. McKenna was the first one in.
Interesting. And then, yeah, it's just weird seeing someone like Hellebuyck here up on this big board. I mean, he's just beloved, isn't he? I mean, was he Team USA or Team Canada?
He was Team USA. He's from Michigan. Self-made individual. He's the one that was walking around with his gold medal.
Right on.
Hell of a guy.
But I know Jets fans love him.
Oh, I know that Winnipeg had a very disappointing season. and Winnipeg needs goal scoring help. But that guy's an icon.
Yeah.
That's like trading a cornerstone star from your franchise. Okay, you're a hockey fan. Jump on board. Fans Forum chat box is open. I do cover hockey. I think I'm the only one in Southern California that covers hockey. I know what I know covering hockey. I want you to jump on board.
Well, at least you don't show the fights like Ted Leitner did.
I know it's important. All right, let's talk about the last group of subjects. Woo, hot headlines. We got stuff everywhere.
Yeah, the high-speed sports wire, PGA Tour teeing it off.
They paraded Tiger Woods out. PGA press conference in Connecticut this week. I didn't need to see him. I did not need him to be telling me about the new structure of the schedule and then to walk off the platform and not take any questions from the media. I thought that was kind of bogus. But that being said, the PGA just announced its 2027 schedule and their plans for 2028. They're going to implement 2 series in 2028. The Championship Series, where all the stars get to play in the major events, 16 elite tournaments, the Grand Slams, etc. They will play a championship schedule. They're unveiling what they're calling the Challenger Series. That will be for the young developmental golfers. They're going to play 20 of their own tournaments. Now, John, the Championship Series, the top 90 players in the Championship Series will get their cards renewed based on points. So if you play well, the top 90 get to come back the next year and play. The bottom 30 are going to get bumped, get relegated, and will have to go to the Challenger Series. Now, what they've done, though, is they've created something called the Last Chance Series. It'll be 4 November tournaments. For anybody that's getting bumped, you still have a last chance to play to save your tour card. That'll be for the bottom 30. They're also introducing match play for all the superstars. It will be a championship event at the end of the year to be televised, and it will be match play for a big amount of money for the true championship. Kind of a unique, very different gimmick. In terms of the Challenger Series, the top 20 players on the Developmental Challenger Series automatically go the next year to the PGA Tour. And if you win 2 tournaments on the Challenger schedule, you automatically qualify to go to the PGA Tour the following year. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this works, but that kicks in 2028. And I'm sitting there watching Tiger Woods' press conference, and I'm saying, why is he at my podium telling me about this new schedule? And he looked like hell. He looked terrible. And of course, he just come back from drug rehab. Why are you parading him out there? And then he said, gentlemen, I'm not taking any questions about anything. Turned and left. And I thought to myself, we just came through the U.S. Open and all that excitement. We've had to cover the Tiger Woods tragedy. We know that Tiger Woods is fighting the prosecuting attorney, trying to get court orders to stop them from accessing the alcohol and drug testing that he had in a hospital after the last auto accident. We know that he's also fighting the prosecuting attorney, which has gotten a subpoena to get all of his medical records from the pharmacies to see how deep his drug addiction is. He's fighting everybody, everything, as if he has a right to have privacy. And I'm thinking, why is this guy being paraded by the PGA out here to talk about this new schedule? And then I thought to myself, have you ever seen anybody fall from grace as badly and as quickly as both Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson have?
Yeah.
Wow. How stunning is that? So, John, you like the 2-tier schedule, a championship schedule, and the challenger schedule?
I do. I always like competition, and the relegation that the EPL does, I think, is a really good system. But, I was just thinking, like, who is the face of golf? And obviously it was Tiger Woods, and before that was Mickelson. But, to come in and talk about the rules and the change of the rules, it can't be an active player. So you think about all of the, the alumni that are still with us who is the face of that? I mean, it can't be Greg Norman either. I mean, there's a lot of like evil dudes or bad dudes there. Who would you think? I mean, would it be like Fred Couples or something?
It's a really interesting question. Modern day golfers, not everybody's buying into this. The Hall of Fame golfers, not everybody's buying into it. Jack Nicklaus isn't buying into it, so he wouldn't come to talk to you about the new championship schedule and the Challenger Series. So it's kind of a weird vibe. But I mean, who's the face? Who's the most popular golfer right now? Well, it's either Rory or Scotty Scheffler. But they're not necessarily buying into the whole changeover either.
No one likes change.
Isn't it stunning, though, the fall from grace of Tiger and Phil? Isn't that amazing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if they fell like rocks, both of them. And it's weird since we think of them together.
Exactly. Okay, pro golf fans, you like what we've just displayed to you? Feel free, jump on board. We'll go from that story. This is the Detroit Lions story is really bad. We've not heard the end of this. I don't know if you've caught wind of this. Number 1 draft pick, cornerback Terrion Arnold, arrested, imprisoned without bail. He was a victim of an armed robbery in Key Largo, Florida in the off-season, in which people came in, ransacked a vacation resort that he was at, stole hundreds of thousands of dollars in jewelry. He went home and hired 4 people to confront the people who broke into his vacation resort. And they found out the leader that robbed him was his own personal driver.
Oh, no.
So he hired, and his girlfriend hired, and they're the ones that developed this plan to kidnap the 4 robbers, beat them up, put guns in their mouth, threaten them. So he's been charged with 8 different felonies, and they've refused to offer him bond. It's absolutely stunning. And the Detroit Lions are just in a state of shock. So the National Football League, they got so many problems on their hands with bad citizens wearing helmets representing teams. They need to get rid of the criminal element in the National Football League. Roger Goodell this past week said, it's a privilege and you have responsibility if you play in the NFL. Well, that means you need to divest yourself of every bad citizen there is. The guys with guns, the guys who pistol whip women, the domestic abusers, the druggies, get them out of the league. And this Terrion Armstead is the number 1 draft pick. This is a starting cornerback in the league who's had a great season or two. And he's involved in this retribution. And he designed this. And they watched it on video while it was they streamed it while his four people that he hired to retaliate against the 4 people that robbed him. Holy cow. So that's a terrible story out of Detroit. Meanwhile, the National Football League, well, know the aftermath, the fallout of Brendan Sorsby. NFL Players Association is not getting involved with Brendan Sorsby, nor the attorney Jeffrey Kessler. This says the NFL decision not to allow Sorsby to get involved in a supplemental draft is a violation of the CBA. Players Association says read the CBA. CBA gives the National Football League, and we agreed to it, total authority to conduct or not conduct a supplemental draft. End of the day, Brendan Sorsby is a person now without a country. No place to get employment. Just amazing, that fall from grace too. And the last topic on the table, you and I both agreed, John. We thought the 5-on-5 proposal, the NCAA, which just passed on Monday, we thought this would be really good. You got 5 years to play 5 years. No waivers, no exemptions. That's going to stop the red shirts, going to stop the transferring, etc. Within 1 day, 15 college athletes filed a lawsuit against the NCAA saying they should have the right to have their 5th-year eligibility right now, even though they played 4 more years. In essence, they want this to be retrofitting to players in the past. NCAA says absolutely not. This new rule goes into effect a year from now. Your eligibility is expired. You played 4 and 4. The 5-and-5 does not start for another year. You can't have access. We're not going to make this retroactive. The first thing that came to mind was Reggie Bush the USC star running back in the NFL, made all that money. And when they put NIL money in, he filed a lawsuit against the NCAA that he should be paid NIL money going back to 2005 because he was a star. Jeez. Anyhow, so I knew this was going to happen. Somebody's going to file litigation on the 5-on-5, and that's where they are now. The only exceptions on the 5-on-5 is if you take a Mormon mission, a religious mission, you can get a waiver. If you go to the military, you can get a waiver. But there'll be no additional waivers for transfers, junior college rules, no additional waivers if you have major injuries. 5 years to play 5 if you want to stay for 5. Okay, John. So I've taken it. You start in Detroit, work your way through Sorsby. Your name's not on a lawsuit, is it?
You know, the Detroit story sounds like an episode from, The Godfather or The Sopranos or something, some kind of vigilante justice. That's wild. I mean, and again, this is just an example of, young men just not getting the right kind of guidance here. I get that he's angry. I get he wants retribution, but Jesus. The NFL thing, I wanted to ask you about the supplemental draft because, when Sorsby originally wanted to go in the supplemental draft, I thought to myself, oh yeah, they have that every once in a while, so maybe he'll be in the draft. But then you said that the NFL wasn't going to do a supplemental. Then it had me thinking back in history, have there been any big names that have been taken in a supplemental draft?
Well, the biggest one, Jim Kelly, legendary quarterback. Now, he had gone to the United States Football League and played for the Houston Gamblers. But when that league was about to end, he had to apply to go into the supplemental draft, and he was accepted, wound up going to the Buffalo Bills. But yeah, there have been some star players that have come through the supplemental draft. I think the first one, now this goes back a long time, former star wide receiver at Ohio State, Chris Carter.
Oh, wow.
He was academically ineligible. Now, he had played a whole number of years at Ohio State, and he applied, and they held a supplemental draft, and he was taken in the first round then by, I guess it was Minnesota. I think he might have been the first one. I want to say maybe 5 to 10 really significant names who've gone into the supplemental draft, but that's up to the league to decide when. And you have to provide documentation as to why you're available. And in this case, Sorsby provided no documentation. He sent one cover letter, said, I want to apply for the supplemental draft immediately. I do not have any eligibility left at the NCAA. And then, we talked about it in Monday's podcast. NCAA's response letter was horribly critical of Sorsby and all the stuff he did, and not showing any remorse and filing lawsuits and antitrust lawsuits, etc. And he's a man without a country because Texas Tech has put him out in the street too at the same time. So, he's in a tough situation with no place to go, he can't play anywhere.
I mean, what do you expect him to put on his supplemental draft request? Well, I gambled at Indiana and Ohio State, and Texas A&M doesn't want me, and everyone thinks I'm a bad guy, and I got nowhere else to go. So maybe NFL, will you take me in the supplemental? Hey, by the way, the NCAA, I like the 5, years and in 5. That makes sense to me. But I wouldn't make an exception for anybody. I mean, I would make this, a consistent rule, because if you make exceptions for, Mormon missions or the military, then you end up getting like these dudes that are 26, 27 years old playing basketball. And that doesn't really fit the profile of a college player, right?
Well, that's an issue. But again, these people go away. I remember interviewing players from BYU, and they would go on Mormon missions for 2.5 years. And they would not be involved in athletics. They were away from the sport forever because they were doing religious-based programs in Africa and places like that. So it's not as if you're getting a 24-year-old or a 25-year-old who's ready to play, because these guys have been separated from the game for an extended period of time because they're abroad. So tough call.
Yeah.
But I knew the minute this was announced, I said, okay, on the clock, who's going to be filing these lawsuits? And here comes this. You're of the opinion, though, the kid that's completing his 4th year this year, he shouldn't be retrofitted with an additional year, should he?
I don't have an objection to that myself. So, it depends how hardcore you want to be.
Okay, that's it. We put a lot of topics on the table here because it's your turn to participate. Fans Forum is just around the corner. Our podcast is brought to you by the good people at Dixie Line Lumber. You got projects that got materials. If you're a do-it-yourselfer in the garage, in the basement, working on stuff, projects, think about the tools available at Dixieline. Go to dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer. John, I'm ready. I bet there's a few people who got some questions, answers, statements to make here in the next half hour. Go ahead.
All right, let's go to our good friend, Music to My Ears, and thank you for the very generous donation. We appreciate that. Chucky Lozano said no to the World Cup. He has a no trade clause, collecting free money until 2028. I want that too. And I'm enjoying Zlatan making fun of Lawless. Quote, ignorant people will say it's arrogance. Intelligent people will say it's confidence.
See what, it's interesting. Alexei Lawless is getting a lot of heat from the national journalists, the national media, the radio TV columnist. He's a little bit offbeat. I enjoy listening to what he has to say. It's interesting what Zlatan has to say too. Again, I'm fascinated by the between or halftime and the post game. Just it's such a different package of post game theatrics with all these analysts in the studio. It's kind of fascinating. And in terms of Chucky Lozano, I mean, his whole thing was he wanted to play somewhere so he could get the chance to have Javier Aguirre look at him in Mexico. And he kept turning down deals. He just wanted to play for SDFC, and they did not want him back. And he killed the potential to have any deals in the first half of the season where he could have showcased his talents again. And I just thought it was weird. I mean, I'm watching Chicharito, who talked and acted his way off the Mexican World Cup team because of the junk he did in MLS in the last couple of years. And you got him and you got Lozano, and neither one of them is playing for their flag right now. I said, boy, that must be tough on them emotionally.
Who's worse as a prima donna, like international soccer players or NFL wide receivers, man?
Yeah, I agree, although wide receivers still seem to get their jobs.
But, I will say this. I agree. I'm enjoying the Zlatan, Lawless back and forth. Really, Alexei Lawless hasn't done anything other than being the guy that, looked like red-haired Jesus out there in 1994. But Zlatan is interesting because, they're obviously importing all of these former player broadcasters from Europe or from Latin America into the United States to be on Fox. And I like that. And you could tell for them, English isn't their first language. And some of them are more comfortable in the American culture. And Zlatan is the best of them all because he could talk smack and he can have, a playful time with his big ego. And I like that. I like to see the personality.
Yeah, I was impressed with Thierry Henry from France. I was very impressed with him too. I watched closely. They had one of the analysts talking when Scotland played, and it was really tough. His brogue was really, really, really steep and deep. Kind of hard to understand it, but it's fascinating. It's such a colorful perspective that we're never used to. We're used to NFL guys, and we know who these guys are, and baseball players, and the NBA guys, and this is so different. It's so off the charts because we're never really exposed to these people. I'm just fascinated watching them.
Yeah, okay. It's a whole new vocabulary too. Now here we were talking about the supplemental draft, and Callan says, "Hey, it was Chris Carter, Bernie Kosar, Terrell Pryor, Jamal Williams all come to mind, and then even Buddy down here, he even said Kosar as well." So, thanks for the feedback.
Yeah, again, it happened because the Players Association pushed for it way back in the day. But under the current terms of the collective bargaining agreement, it's no longer negotiated. The union gave up ownership rights to the supplemental draft. It is now strictly the NFL's decision if we're going to do it, not do it. And the fact that Sorsby, made his application letter 3 days before the deadline with no documentation, no information, no files, folders, and the NFL has to do background on these people rather than just rubber stamp it and say you can come. In essence, nobody will say it. I'll say it. NFL just hit him with a 1-year suspension for the gambling addiction. Is that pretty much the proper read you get?
Yeah, 100%, and he deserves it. And it is interesting too that when I think of draft and supplemental, the NFL has this extra draft later on in the year, but for baseball, it's usually the picks that are in between the rounds. And sometimes I used to get those confused.
Okay, we move on.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go here to Bat Fan. Hey, how big is this series against the Dodgers for the Padres? Or is it just, quote, just another series?
Well, it's 3 games on the schedule. Yeah, I mean, is it important because it's not even July 4th yet? I don't know how important it is. It's 3 games on the schedule, but it is Dodger Padre history. Now, if this sucker were Labor Day weekend and we're closing down the schedule and you're fighting for your life in the playoffs, yeah, I think that'd be much more important. But I think now, John, we couch any Dodger Padre series during the season, and what's the first thing you flash back to? Dodgers, Padres, playoffs. How cool were they what we saw in the past, even though the Padres are 9 games out of first place at this point in time. So I think it's more save the season series than it is a critical, important series. But now when I think Dodger Padres, I just get electrified remembering the playoff series and how cool they were despite the outcomes.
Yeah, it's still a legit rivalry. I mean, the Dodgers have hand, right? You know, I get that. But, you know, the whole nation sees this as personalities that, you know, Machado and Dave Roberts flipping the ball back and forth, and, you know, Jerks and Profar and Tatis the Peacock. And there's just a lot of fun characters like in a comic book, you know, situation. So it's still a legit rivalry. If you look up the word rivalry in the dictionary, it meets every possible angle of the definition. It's just that the damn Dodger fans are so aloof. They think that, oh, they're just above it all, you know. But it's going to be a tough series. You know, both teams have challenges, but the Dodgers have overcome them.
Scoreboard does not lie, though.
No,
I mean,
that's what your buddy Jim Rome would say. Scoreboard.
Padres are 33-57 since they got good against the Dodgers. So that scoreboard is still kind of painted blue.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I got you. Okay, let's go here to is this Martin Mull? I don't know. M. Mull says, we're talking about Dalton Rushing. He's the backup catcher. It's not a story.
Well, he's a prospect. They like him. He's had stretches where he's played well. He is maybe the catcher of the future if they move Will Smith to first base once Freddie Freeman retires. But, you know, if you watch him, he's pretty volatile, John. He's very emotional. There's a semblance of me says, boy, there's a maturity issue here that somebody needs to address. And then some of the stuff that's happened this year when he hasn't played well, you say, ooh, should he be acting this way? I mean, there's cameras everywhere. Everybody sees this stuff. So, and I don't lip read Japanese very well. I don't know what Ohtani told him, but, you know, the semblance that is being reported is Ohtani's told him, catch the ball, catch the damn ball.
He probably said, do you know who you're talking to? I'm Shohei Ohtani. Everything I do turns to gold. And sure enough, you know, his ABS call was right. Ohtani got it right. I don't know. I just think it's just interesting how the Dodgers have so many squeaky clean personalities. And then you've got Dalton Rushing, you know, who's kind of like stirring it up. But it's still small potatoes compared to the yap talking and all the other sports. I mean, this is really a tiny thing.
All right, we'll see what the weekend brings. Okay, next one.
Okay, let's go to Do You Love It? Hey, love the Padres-Dodgers rivalry. Sports is about rivalries, and if the Padres keep finding out ways to win, then I say the sky is not falling. Let's see how they look after the trade deadline.
Well, that's coming August 3rd. So, I mean, we had another month of baseball, but, you know, the Padres, they feel pretty good about themselves right now because they just won 3 games. But I just caution you, so Machado hits a home run, but the rest of the time he's hitting 178. You know, Tatis has got 3 home runs. You know, the pitching staff is still got a lot of issues in that starting rotation. So if we join you on Monday and the Padre winning streak is now at 6 games, then you say they've flipped this thing and they've turned the corner. If we join you on Monday and the Dodgers have now won 3 more against the Padres, John will be moaning, Dodgers, Dodgers, Dodgers.
Well, you know I will. I mean, it's just that's what's going to end up happening. But it just makes you think about it. You know, Do You Love It's right. Sports is about rivalries. And you're thinking about all the great rivalries, you know, Michigan, Ohio State. I have a friend of mine who's a big Red Sox fan, and still to this day, she will say, Bucky effing Dent, because she's just so angry about the Yankees and that rivalry. But what are some of your favorite rivalries in sports, Lee?
Well, I grew up as a Cleveland Indians fan as a kid, and I grew up when the Indians were pretty good, and they always finished second to the Yankees because the Yankees had the money, Maris, Mantle, Whitey Ford, Yogi Berra, just a lot of great players. So that was always a great rivalry. And then when I was involved in my radio career, John, I always used to get amped up when the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Cleveland Browns because I was a Cleveland Browns fan as a young kid too. And
Wow.
that was a big rivalry because Cleveland was pretty good, but Pittsburgh was Pittsburgh. Steel curtain defense,
Yeah.
Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw, and all that. All those games were just absolute wars. So, those are two of my great rivalries.
Well, how
And
about
then,
Chargers Raiders? I mean, that's what we know you for.
well, a lot of, yeah, I didn't get as amped about the Chargers Raiders because the Raiders were starting to falter, and the Chargers hadn't been very good. So it was, geez, I hope we can hang in there and win some of these games, and the Chargers obviously did. If you were to pinpoint me, Chargers Kansas City was a hell of a lot more of a big rivalry to me than the Chargers versus the Raiders because the Chiefs were good and the Chargers got good and the Chargers punched them in the mouth and we beat them in the playoffs and we went to a Super Bowl, etc. So in that short duration, the Chargers Chiefs was a pretty good rivalry. And from a hockey perspective, because I grew up with Hockey Night in Canada, Toronto Maple Leafs, Montreal Canadiens, there are not enough words to describe the history of that rivalry. And that rivalry still exists right now, even though Maple Leafs have been very good for a long time. But so those are rivalries that I kind of grew up with.
Well, yeah, Celtics Lakers was a great one, man. I mean,
oh, sure.
Yeah, and and then by the way, the Raiders, we just think of the Raider fans always calling in on 690. They always had something good to say. Hey, a little more Dodger talk from 4XRLA. Hey, Will Smith neck injury could be career threatening.
I've not heard that. I've not read that. I've not heard that. So I don't know at this point. Have not said very much about it, except he's on the disabled list. So I would hope not. And until somebody who's on the inside makes a comment about where he is on the rehab process and what the significance of this injury is, I'm not going to reach and say this is career threatening because I have no inside knowledge about that yet.
Yeah, that's Sid from Toy Story. There's Toy Story 5 is coming out. I wonder if is Sid still in that series? I don't know. But anyways, let's keep going. We'll go to Showtime LA. Hey, the next 7 matchups between LA and San Diego will determine the NL West. Can't wait.
Long road back, though. It's a really bad stretch. The Dodgers have won 28 of the last 39, and that includes a couple crappy losses against bad teams, with the 28-11 at that point. There's a Padre team that lost 15 of 22 and doesn't look significantly better at the weakest link, which is their starting pitching right now. So I can't say the Padres are about to put themselves back in any pennant race whatsoever, but we do have half a season still to play.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. I mean, the Dodgers are they're in a different category. So as a Padre fan, I'm just kind of resigned to the fact, just find a way to get into the playoffs and then anything can happen, just maintain that spot in the the standings. But right now, weren't the Padres and the Diamondbacks were tied there for a little while? But I think the Padres are back clearly in second place, at least.
Yeah, but I mean, it's too early to be running in the newspaper. They were running the wild card standings as of today.
Well, it's fun to look.
It's fun to look at. It doesn't carry any legitimacy at all because it's only June. But
what's the magic number, Lee?
Yeah. I don't know if the Padres can get to the magic number. That's the problem. Padres are on the outside looking in right now in terms of the wild card race. I mean, I think last week at the height of that bad spin where they lost 17 or 22, I looked at one point there were 9 teams ahead of them with better records in the National League. Whoa, it's not good.
How about John Patrick Sears? That was a hell of a performance last night.
That really was. Only counts as one last I checked. We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I was surprised because that guy dragged with him an ERA of 7.22 from the Pacific Coast League.
Yeah.
And they don't have anybody at El Paso that's pitching with any credibility at all outside of the ex-Colorado Rocky pitcher who's on rehab.
Oh, Herman Marquez.
Marquez has pitched a little bit better at that point in time, but there's really nobody that's pitching that's dominant. You say, we could go get him and bring him up, and maybe he'd give us some quality. It doesn't happen. So
No, I mean, the next best pitching prospect is what, Cruz Schoolcraft, and he's probably down in low A or something.
Yeah, A, double A, and those guys are miles away.
Yeah.
Trading deadline's coming, so we'll just have to wait and see if Preller has the ability to execute to go get more pitching. But we'll separate that topic and just park it over here. Let's see what Friday, Saturday, Sunday baseball is going to be all about.
Right. I agree. Okay, let's go here to HB949 Sports Jeff. Hey, at the end of the day, the MLB will come to an agreement, and both the owners and players will make more money, and the fans will pay inflated prices for everything.
Sounds like a bitter baseball fan. It's interesting what the owners proposed today. It's radically different. It's typical of the union's response. The sky is falling. You can't do that to us, etc. They'll find a common ground. They have to find a common ground. There's a lot of money to be made. And John and I have talked about this before, the most stunning aspect to what's been proposed so far is the fact that Rob Manfred got all of the big market TV teams to put all 100% of the TV revenue into the pot of gold. That's never, ever happened before. Bruce Meyer should say, that's a step forward, instead of saying the sky is falling, you're trying to screw us, we'll never do this deal. Bruce Meyer needs to address each of the proposals. Give me a response to that, because I tend to think that's a hell of a contribution from the owners to put all that TV money into the pot of gold to get this thing started.
Yeah, and we've speculated that, you know, the Dodgers must be getting something back, you know, in that deal. You know, especially even the Mets and Yankees. I mean, to give up that amount of revenue for the greater good, you know, you need a little something back. So, yeah, I agree. I think they're going to come to an agreement on this. I can't imagine that they would, you know, like kill this thing, because the last time they had a lockout or a strike, I mean, it ruined the sport for years.
Yeah. Why would you dare venture in that area? Now, I will say this, what the owners are proposing, a hard cap, that's radically different too. But if you take the best that the NFL has, the best of what the NBA has, a piecemeal something you take from what works in the NHL, baseball should be able to find a common ground in which everybody continues to have a bigger pie and share it collectively without all this other rhetoric. I don't need Bruce Meyer telling me the sky is falling.
Yeah, Chicken Little. Okay. Let's go here to Phil. This is a new name. I like seeing that. Hey, is this Save College Sports going to happen? If passed, it will block any G6 school to get an invite to a Power 4 conference.
I have no doubt that there'll be victims, but when they give them the antitrust exemption, that will bring cost controls, that will bring leadership back into place, and we won't have what we have right now, which I think is utter chaos. And I've always thought the antitrust exemption would be important. But, you know, this is not a slam dunk, because they have to solve what the Big Ten and the SEC is saying. Big Ten and the SEC want nothing to do with an antitrust exemption in the Save Sports program, because they're all about making as much money as they can for their schools and their respective conferences. And they're not viewing, quote, the big picture. And the big picture right now is littered with chaos and corruption, et cetera. So I hope it gets passed, but they have to find a way to make this work for the Big Ten and SEC to be part of this. Are those two guys going to break away and try to form their own NCAA? I hope not, because that doesn't work for anybody.
See, I like the antitrust exemption. That makes sense. But is this the Ted Cruz bill? Is that what this one
Yes.
is? It's in Congress. I mean, think about this. I mean, how long ago was it? It was 75 years ago or so when we had civil rights in America, because, you know, certain people couldn't eat at lunch counters with other people. Okay. It was separate but equal. And now those same legislatures in DC, they want to put this together where the Power 4 and the Group of 6 are never to be intermingled. I mean, doesn't that sound ironic to you?
Kind of. But you know, this is all about money. This is all about opportunities postseason. It's all about TV contracts. And I swear to you, nobody has any interest in whether or not Wyoming's on my TV on Saturday afternoon, or San Diego State's playing such and such, or the University of Toledo, because those conferences are at this level, and this is all about what's going on up here.
Well, do you care if Rutgers is on TV? I mean, there's a lot of Power 4 schools. You're like, oh, whatever. I don't know. I just don't like the separate tiered and no two shall cross. To me, that's wrong.
Okay.
Because they should be like a relegation system, like golf is doing, like soccer does.
They got to solve Big Ten SEC first, and then we can argue about the group of 6 and go from there.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's go to David Lee Roth, the Atomic Punk. Hey, Dalton is a mental case, and look to my limited lip reading skills. Ohtani said, "Next time, listen to me," and possibly ask Dalton, "Who's your daddy?"
I'm not quite sure who said that, but end of the day, that's a young kid who's obviously pushes the limits of his ability, does not like failure. I mean, I would bet, John, I've seen 5 different incidents with him this year in which the frustration thing boils over. There's no doubt that he's a pretty good ball player. And as Dave Roberts said last night, work in progress. There's just a maturity factor, and maybe it'll come, or maybe it won't ever come. I mean, there are jerks all over Major League Sports who just don't act the way they should act, despite all the counseling and leadership and the support they're provided. So we'll just see. But it was kind of strange to see the interaction between Ohtani through the interpreter to Dalton Rushing, and then see Rushing kind of fall apart in the dugout.
Yeah. I mean, dude needs to grow up. I get it. I mean, because wherever he was before, he was the dude, right? And now he's way down the pecking order, and so he just has to understand his new situation. Let's go here to Ocean View Coffee Shop, just because I love your handle. The Timberwolves, this is a two-parter. The Timberwolves ruined a beautiful roster. The Wolves were literally inches away from making the NBA Finals.
Ocean View, I'll kind of agree with you on that. I mean, when you look at all the transactions, I mean, Julius Randle, pretty good player, but he was an up and down, in and out player. I think they got tired of the act. There was junk off the floor with him. I was stunned they traded Naz Reid because they had turned down all types of offers 2 years in a row for Naz Reid. You got Rudy Gobert, pretty good player, but sometimes he's in, sometimes he's out. Anthony Edwards can't do it by himself, and he's got some volatile stuff off the court that I think offends some people. So that they've really changed the chemistry of that roster. So I'm going to be intrigued to see how they make all these new pieces fit, because it's surely not the deep team that it was the last 2 calendar years. But it doesn't say that they can't get really good and be really explosive going forward. There'll just be a lot of new pieces that'll be playing with Ant, obviously Jaden, McDaniel, and obviously new kids coming in the door from Miami in the trade.
Yeah, it is interesting when a team is close and then suddenly they really blow it up, rather than just trying to find that one missing piece. So, yeah, it is odd. It is odd. They were so close. Okay,
thanks for being with us, Ocean View.
MM Forever. Hey, no way the new MLB proposal maxing contract lengths and deferrals happens. Lockout definitely happening.
Lockouts sound good for baseball. But, you look, the NFL, NBA, NHL, all have limits as to length of contracts. And there's an intangible thing here. If you max and say the most contract you can give is 5 years, that helps baseball. If you give a contract to a guy who physically breaks down and you have catastrophic commitments to guys who go out 10 years and he can't play baseball anymore, can you say Anthony Rendon?
Yeah.
That's good. But, they're going to get big money. If it's a 5-year contract, that's big money rather than a 10 or 12-year contract with all types of implications. John, I don't know who you're going to be doing this podcast with in 5 years, but the Padres are still on the hook for Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts' contract in 5 years, the Yu Darvish contract. Is that going to be good for the Padres, considering age, injury, things of that nature? So a 5-year slot, and it's being done in the NFL. They limit how long those contracts can go. NBA's got limits, and NHL just put limits in. I think it's good for the sports, good for the franchise. Is it not?
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to have integrity with the salary cap situation, you can't give them that flexibility to move money, slide it around to another year. So that makes sense to me. I don't know, but I just think that they wouldn't be dumb enough to shut the thing down. I mean, there's just so much money to go around. I mean, they got to figure out a way.
I concur. We haven't had much conversation, any reaction about the banning of deferred contracts. Is that good for sports baseball? I know it's a bookkeeping issue. How are they going to do this with all these teams that now have all these deferrals on the books going forward?
Yeah, I mean, they have to figure out a way to grandfather it in. But really, a deferral violates the spirit of a salary cap. Because you think if you had a $100 million contract over 10 years, you would expect it to be $10 million a year through that 10-year window. But the fact that you can move it around and defer it for later years, or if you get Bobby Bonilla still collecting $1 million every year for 30 years, I mean, it circumvents the whole concept.
Yeah. So we'll see where this goes. We will have much more dialogue on this. As long as they're talking, that's important. Go ahead, next one.
Okay, this is from Sports Fan. He had two comments. First, call the ladies line. And then he says, hey, Lee, Hacksaw, Hamilton, and John, what are your top 10 NHL draft picks?
Well, it's a really good draft. I mean, we just went through the hot ones at the top of the board. The Euros, there are 3 goal scorers from Europe that are really good, led by the Finnish teenager, Ivan Stenberg. Gavin McKenna is absolutely the best. There are a load of really good defensemen in junior hockey. That's what's at the top of the board. I'm going to write more about the draft tonight. It'll be on my website tomorrow, the Friday edition, and the best 15 minutes in sports. So go to the website. You'll probably want to check that out. But, to me, the draft is one item, but the fact that we have 11 marquee players that we think are going to be traded between now and tomorrow night or before the start of free agency on July 1st. So this is not a great free agent year per se, but there's a lot of teams that are going to move contracts with guys that are going to be in the last year of their contracts that they don't think that they can get signed. So I think the trade rumor mill might supersede the NHL draft. So it's going to be interesting. And if you're a hockey fan, this is a great time. It's a very busy time.
There's a young man I know here in my hometown of Poway, and his name's Rory Herman. And he played junior hockey and played hockey in college. And he was hopeful to be drafted. He ended up playing pro hockey in England for Milton Keynes for one of those teams. But I just wonder how many big-time NHL players have come out of Southern California or even Arizona.
A lot more. I mean, the 60-goal scorer, Austin Matthews, he's from Scottsdale, Arizona. Think about that.
Is that where he grew up?
Yes.
Wow.
And there have been a lot of California-grown kids, a lot of American kids have now come through the NHL or come through the NCAA ranks to become NHL players. It's very different. Once upon a time, it was strictly Canada. And then the seal was broken with the Europeans who arrived. And then was a great influx of Russians at one point. Now, they're not developing the mega stars that they used to. The Scandinavians are developing an absolute ton of skaters and goal scorers. So where they come from now is very different than where they came from 10 years ago, where they came from in the 1980s when the European barrier was broken. And then, where they came from back in the 60s, where everybody had to come from north of the border because there was nothing here in the States. There was no developmental programs. There's hardly anything in NCAA hockey. So it's become a global game, and there are players coming from everywhere.
Did you see the clip of Erling Haaland, from Team Norway? And he went to a hockey game while he was here for the World Cup. I thought it was great. Yeah,
and there was also a clip of him at a baseball game. Those guys they're experiencing things they've never, ever experienced before. It's really, really kind of cool. Okay, let's do one more here, John, before we wrap it up.
Okay, one more hockey comment from John. Hey, the two trades the Capitals made had me wondering if Ovechkin is retiring.
I think it's a very valid question. They're leaving it up to Ovechkin as to whether or not he wants to play next year and at what price tag. Ovi's got a lot of miles on him, but Ovi can still play the game. But getting Alex Tuch out of Buffalo for a third-round pick, that's thievery. And then turning around and getting Kyrou, the goal scorer, who didn't have a real good season, but prior to that had real good seasons in St. Louis. So they've really upped themselves in terms of offense to help them. I think Ovechkin's going to come back. And now he's going to probably have better people around him at this point in time.
Yeah, you know what? John is actually coming into town. He's going to be going to a ball game at Petco, I think, tonight or the next night. So welcome back to San Diego.
John has opinions on the Padres all the time.
All the time. He's always emailing us. He's a good guy.
Hey, listen, we hope you've enjoyed our special Thursday podcast coming out of the NBA draft, going into the NHL draft, and covering all the late-breaking stories, whether it's Davis World Cup soccer to obviously what's gone on at the collective bargaining talks, what happened today. If you like what we do, I invite you to read my website. I write on it every day of the week, LeeHacksawHamilton.com. Want you to subscribe. That way you'll be able to get on the email list. Go to Hacksaw's Insiders Group and subscribe on my website. You'll get 2 newsletters a day, which will knock you out. Obviously, tell everybody what we do Mondays and Thursdays at 1:30. You can help make this thing grow. Find that button right there that says follow. Find that button that gives us a thumbs up. Find the button that gives us a 5-star ranking on Apple. John, fascinating day. Here comes World Cup soccer tonight at 7. Here comes NHL draft tomorrow. Got the Dodgers, got the Padres. On Monday, we will review it. Will we cheer it? Will we do an autopsy on it? I don't know. It'll be fun to watch. It's going to be good. John, have a great sports weekend.
Hey, you too, Lee. Have a great one.
And thank you very much for following us. Brought to you by Dixieline Lumber and Home Centers. 8 locations to serve you in San Diego. Check Dixieline.com to see all the things they have to offer. We will see you Monday at 1:30. You have yourself a great sports weekend on Hacksaw's Headlines.
Join us again for Hacksaw's Headlines on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And find the audio version on your favorite podcast apps. For more content, go to LeeHacksawHamilton.com.